Somewhere I have a button from 1976, and I was trying to find it and I couldn't. And it says, "Politicians fight for money interests. We must fight for our own." And it wasn't that, it raised its eyebrows back in 76, and I'm sure it would continue to now. But 36 years, that statement still holds true. And looking through some emails, Chris Hedges characterized this election as a battle between the corporate state and us. And as many of you already said, those are the terms of the choices that we have with Republicans and Democrats. And for me, political involvement is not what happens on election day. Political involvement isn't when people vote. It's what happens all the other 364 days, or the lack of what happens the 364 days. But real politics happen in the streets and are determined by people who are putting their values out on the line. One thing about elections, most people judge low voter turnout as indicative of a very broad apathy. And there are many people I know who are quite concerned politically. They don't vote. And it's for that reason that they don't see much of a difference between the Democrats or Republicans. And so it's their awareness that societal changes have to happen from somewhere beyond the election booth that is what's going to determine the changes that we need. Now, I respect that stand of my politically aware friends who don't vote. Myself, I believe a better tactic is to go into the voting booth and write in the name of someone who you do think is an appropriate leader or spokesperson for this country. And that might count as a spoiled ballot, but it will certainly mean that you weren't lazy or you didn't care, or that you had no thoughts on politics. So I think that way people are not categorized as apathetic, creative, and people hoping for a better choice than the above that are listed. Many of my friends have no illusions about the state of things under President Obama, but are still planning on voting for him, which I personally think fosters more illusions and an overall mistake for helping raise the understanding of millions of people in this country about what they can really expect from him. President Obama promised us a right to health care, and instead there's this right to health insurance. And there is a very big difference between having insurance and having care. When he was wanting to get elected in 2008, he was talking about the emphasis on clean energy. And as speakers have already mentioned, he supports nuclear power development, opening up the Arctic to drilling, opening up the national parks for drilling, fracking. This is not a clean energy president. He promised to go to war with Afghanistan and accelerate the war, and he did. And in doing this, violating international law. And whenever I see him on TV talking about, oh, well, we got bin Laden, it's like, why are you proud of assassination? World War II with the Nazis, they were captured, brought to trial, their crimes exposed, and then justice was meted out in the ways that were determined. But it wasn't assassination. And also with Muammar Gaddafi of Libya, assassinated. And I'm wondering, why were they not captured, brought to trial? Or maybe there were some things that the US government didn't want exposed, of the relationships that both the bin Laden and his family and Muammar Gaddafi had in their very long-term relationships with the United States. As far as U.S. troops having left Iraq, this was not Obama's doing, but happened because Iraq wouldn't allow them to stay any longer. As far as overall foreign policy, the debate that happened, there was not a whole lot of difference between President Obama and Mitt Romney. What else did he do? That is the Wall Street stimulus. The bailout was $4.5 trillion.
Guantanamo. He told us about Guantanamo.
And Guantanamo. Wall Street got $16 trillion with no interest loans. Can't even get a no interest credit card anymore without paying advance fees. Also the indefinite detentions, assassinations, including U.S. citizens, the Espionage Act to silence whistleblowers like Bradley Manning. We also have the drone aircraft that were designed by maniacs, these weapons of mass destruction. They keep the killers thousands of miles away from the victims, and they don't even see the consequences of their actions. Hundreds of people have been killed indiscriminately, and it's like the Milgram experiment on steroids in real life. Out of the ashes we've seen is a very sweet breath of air, the Occupy movement. The system is broken, and the time to jerry-rig, shim up, and duct tape it together has passed. Occupy movement caught on all over the world. That masses of people, the 99%, cannot live with the massive foreclosures, no health care, homelessness, unemployment, crippling student loans. So I think I will end there. Well, no, one other thing. As many said, what I intend to do is vote, that it's important is to vote your values. Don't vote for the lesser of two evils. You're still voting for evil. How good does that feel? You know you're voting for evil. Vote the candidates or for your values. And personally, I am voting for Jill Stein. I'm a member of the Green Party, and I have a lot of agreement in what she has written, cutting the military budget, moratorium on foreclosures, rejecting cutting Medicare, Social Security, rewrite the tax codes, and raising taxes for the richest Americans. That all sounds good to me. And thank you very much, Stan. And glad to have been on the panel.
Let's a few rounds of applause for our speakers.